Well, I believe my eyes were bad when I was driving from Florida with Dave. I was trying to meet you up with you. I was coming back with Dean and Joe, and we're on the I-75, and I'm driving, and it's like late at night, and we're so tired, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, Dean, can you see that sign? It's like the one that says to Atlanta. I'm like, damn it. Because I could not see them at all. They were like,
really?
I thought it was just me. I thought I was tired. I thought it was late. It was far. I don't know. But now, yeah, I went to Tiger game the other day and I had to bring glasses for the outfield. Sit in the outfield to watch the game.
Oh, wow. You are getting old, yeah.
When I put those on, it's like HD. Like HD. Like I keep saying to Dave, like, is our TV always been so nice? I keep saying that when we're watching like sports, especially. I'm like, or a Game of Thrones, or whatever new show is that's out. Has it always been this nice, our TV, or is this my glasses?
That's so funny, man.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tango1 Podcast. My co-host with the most is back.
What's up, buddy?
Okay, after we had the pinch hitter in last week, and we're doing something different this week. We are teaming up with the David Haas podcast. My good buddy Dave Haas has been on here a few times. We kind of got to co-host this show with another show. So we got a co-host and a co-host show. So this will go out on a few different platforms, which we always try to do what we can to support each other. So thanks for coming on again.
Thanks for having me. I love it. I love the new studio, new space. It's awesome, man.
I appreciate that. So we were talking right before about the glasses. We were having trouble getting my camera. I'm having more of a hard time with the far stuff.
Oh, really?
What about you?
No, I'm near. Yeah, my eyes are actually like extremely fucked. One of the things that the things I work on is that it's like you can't have a illness without a belief that an illness exists. So it's like once you believe your eyes are going bad, you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah. Well, I believe my eyes were bad when I was driving from Florida with that trip I was trying to meet you up with you. I was coming back with Dean and Joe, and we're on the I-75, and I'm driving, and it's like late at night, and we're so tired, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, Dean, can you see that sign? It's like the one that says to Atlanta. I'm like, damn it. Because I could not see them at all. They were like,
really?
I thought it was just me. I thought I was tired. I thought it was late. It was far. I don't know. But now, I went to Tiger game the other night. I had to bring glasses for the outfield. Sit in the outfield to watch the game.
Oh, wow. You are getting old, yeah.
When I put those fuckers on, it's like HD. Like HD. Like I keep saying to Dave, like, is our TV always been so nice? I keep saying that when we're watching like sports, especially. I'm like, or a Game of Thrones, or whatever new show is that's out. Has it always been this nice, our TV, or is this my glasses?
That's so funny, man.
Definitely the glasses. Man. Yeah, I went to an eye doctor. I hadn't been to an eye doctor because I don't have benefits. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16, so it's like I never just go.
Yeah. We all three of us avoid the doctor.
Yeah,
100%. We're guys and entrepreneurs. We don't go to the doctor.
That's it. Yeah, right. And so I was sailing with this guy who was an eye doctor, and I'm like, I'm going to come in and just get my eyes checked out. Never had my eyes checked out, and so that was where the belief developed, and so. I get there and he does the thing that now you don't look at the letters anymore on the thing. It's like they put the big giant thing in front of you and then they show you the letters. So he's like, okay, read the letters.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And it was the first letter. I couldn't read it. And I was like, he's like, come on, you're joking, right? I'm like, no, I can't read the first letter. And so then he switched my eyes and I could read it perfectly. So my eyes are perfectly like out of like in focus. Like one is nearsighted and one is farsighted. So if I close my left eye, I can't see anything close. If I close my right eye, I can't see anything far, right? Or vice versa, whatever that means. But so yeah, he's like, your eyes are perfectly in focus, but one is perfectly nearsighted and one is perfectly farsighted, which is a mess.
Yeah. So what surprised me with the eye doctor is when I went there, I was like, man, my eyes are messed up. They're so bad. And I went in and he's like, listen, man, he's like, your eyes are actually great. And I've been like 20/20 my whole life. Like, never had a problem at all until it was like, bang. And he said what happens is when you're somebody who's had great vision, the second it goes off a bit, you almost like start to like freak out because your body's so not used to like not being able to see clear. And he's like, most people who got laser eye surgery would be lucky to have the eyesight you have now.
Right.
And I'm like, really? Like, so there's people walking around, because I know, and my mom and dad, they wear glasses for as long as I can remember. Lots of friends, Cal. There's a lot of guys I know that, and girls obviously, that wear glasses. And I guess I never really fully understood what they were seeing. Like, and it's like, to me, and when you put those glasses on, it's wild how clear. It's like instantly, you're like, I'm watching the hockey game, not thinking much. I just think I can't see the score really. I'm kind of doing like this.
Yeah.
And then I put these on, and I'm like, wow. It's crazy. I was trying to play video games with the kids, and you know how they have the words on the screen all the time? Like, press A to, like, open door.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I was having to sit up front. Like, I had my big my screen that's behind the entertainment center, baby. I had to sit up front, and I'm like, press A. The kids are way in the back.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, you can't read that?
not to circle this back to like what I do, but like this is basically like what I teach people is that like we're only viewing the world through our lens, right? And so now when that is like the lens of like, this is like a physical lens we're talking about, right? But it's like, so like my wife, she was like blind, she got laser eye surgery, and was like someone like opened up her world, right? And so like, you know, that's what I do for like clients is like we're looking through the lens of our fucked up eyes, but you're also looking through the lens of your fucked up experiences and everything. Like, so then you're only seeing like what you think is reality is only your reality.
Right.
You know, which is like when you think about like that's such a great analogy to that. I'm sorry, I took the podcast really serious here for a minute, but like it's like because that's what it reminded me of. It's like because you don't even know until you know, right? You know, it's like my wife had no clue that the world was so beautiful until she got her eyes fixed, right? And that would be the same thing from like someone who's trapped in like apathy, where like the world is against them. They don't even realize how great life can be, because they're only looking through the lens of like their own experiences, kind of thing.
Well, first of all, don't apologize for taking the podcast serious.
This is why you are here.
This world, now that Mike's in, like I've waited too long to rewrite the caption. You know, the little one that shows on Spotify. Like, co-host Mike. So I rewrote that today, and it says right on there, we take deep dives into things.
Okay, good.
So there we go. So here we go. And you know what? In the world of policing, you talk about the lens and the experiences and how people see things differently. We would go to a crime or a car accident, and 5 independent witnesses who have no meaning, no like, no jeopardy.
Right.
Just want to tell us what happened.
Yep.
And you would get 5 with such drastic differences of the actual sequence of events that you'd be questioning yourself, like what actually happened here? Because most of the times, especially when I was a cop, we didn't have that video. You know, video was just becoming prevalent. It's not like now basically anything and everything is on video. Mm-hmm. It was always amazing to me, like how people saw these things differently. You know, and that's exactly what you're talking about and what you do a lot of.
So then it's like, then once you understand that you're only looking through life through a lens, right? You can just drop the idea of the whole entire lens and start to bring awareness to what lens you're looking through life at. And so you might be looking through lens of life, like I say, like the victim is a good one, where the whole world's against you and nothing ever goes your way. And guess what? If you're only looking through the lens of life through that, then that's exactly what's going to happen. If you look through the lens of life where you're grateful and, you know, life's great and you enjoy being here, then that's what's going to continue to come into your life, right? So it's just like, oh, we're looking through life through a filter. So it's like, what filter and what can I do to change it or remove it?
Right.
What do you got to say about that, Mike?
Oh man,
I feel like Zach, the camera guy, might have just farted back there. Did I hear a fart? That fart distracts you from everything ever. I cannot. Deep dive.
Deep dive fart. Yeah.
Deep dive fart. Gone. Back to childhood for a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's claiming he did it. You know, I don't want to make.
It's funny that you're talking about that, because I'm like trying to think now, like what is my lens? And you know, and I've always had this, I've always understood that, right? Because and I feel like people don't talk about perception enough, and it's because we all have, like, this is the way that I've always seen it. This is how I view it. This is how this person views it. This is how that person views it. It's like there can be totally different opinions or perceptions on the exact same event, like you just said with the car accident. 5 different things happened, but the only one thing happened, but 5 different people perceived it differently. And I'm trying to think, like, how do I perceive things? Because you brought up the victim mentality, and I'm like, I don't think that I have victim mentality, but I'm constantly in a zone of like not being. It's not enough, because I'm very happy. I'm very content, and I feel good about myself and who I am and who I've become. But I'm always chasing the next level, to the point sometimes where I'm like, I never got where I'm going ever. And it's like, you know, sometimes I have to ask myself, like, there's a healthy part of that, and then there's gotta be a part where that's like, it's not damaging, but like, you know, you're missing some things because you're always chasing the part that you never get.
You want me to coach you here?
Well,
it's basically this. So like we don't have to do a coaching session, but essentially it's this. It's like, none of the answers that you seek are out there, right? And so when we're constantly looking for something out there, whatever it's more money, I just made a whole video about driving the R8, and I thought it was in the R8, and it's not in the R8. And so it's like when you constantly are trying to solve for something out there, it's like the question is like, what are you trying to solve? Like when you get to whatever level you want to get to, how are you going to feel?
Right.
What is your answer? Like when you get to, you have something in
So
mind?
yeah, the honest answer is I feel like I'm gonna feel like I feel right now because I actually am happy. Like I am happy. I am fulfilled. I've got an amazing wife. We're having a baby. Like I'm having an amazing time right now. But there are things in my life where I know I need improving in, and I have a hard time being like, I know I need to improve here, but I'm not there yet. And this, when I achieve whatever this is going to be, I know I'm going to have a new set of skills. I'm probably going to have new outlook on things. It's like, but I'm happy now. Yeah. So I get trapped in this, and it's this vicious cycle. And I do this with food too. Like I like right now, for example, I'm not at as peak fitness as I have been in the past, but I bust my ass and I get super shredded, and then I fall back in. And I do it with work. I do it with everything. And I'm noticing this about myself now. I kind of like climb up this ladder just to get to the top of the slide, and then I slide down it, and then I go back around again.
Yeah, so there's a bunch going on there, but like the thing is that like you consciously you're saying I'm happy and everything's fine, and that's what happens to a lot of us when we begin to create awareness. We begin to start realizing what filter we're looking through or lens we're looking through. We have the awareness to be like, no, I am happy. Like, but what is really happening is at an unconscious level, we're still trying to solve for something that happened to us, like as a kid, or we experienced some sort of emotional pain. And so then we created a belief that, hey, if I make more money, then I'm going to get respect or whatever it may be. And so when you can start to tune into what is it you're thinking you're going to get, you know, like when I bought the R8, I was like, what is it that I'm going to get? And when the answer that came to me, because it didn't get resolved, it did for a few months, but then it went away, was that I thought I was going to, like, I thought I was going to show everybody that I had made it, right? But that was trying to get something out there to solve something from me inside. So the question I had to ask myself was like, well, why do I need to show everybody that I made it, right? And then when I started asking that question, I started going to deeper, you know, parts of my childhood where it's like there was moments in my life where I felt like I didn't have enough, where I, you know, got made fun of for the cars that I drove, the house that I lived in, and that shame that I experienced, my mind went to work to make sure I never re-experienced it, and it did so through the action of getting, right? And so something is going on, because if we're looking for something out there, we, like, even if we're trying to prove it to ourselves, when you're trying to prove something, it means you don't have it, right? And so a good thing to look at for people that are like striving for something out there is to ask yourself, well, what will you get once you're there? What is the feeling that you're going to have? And whatever your answer is, the next question should be, why don't you feel that way right now? And that is because the mind has one function, and that's to protect us from pain, right? Mm-hmm. Physical and emotional, right? And so as a kid, something bad happens to you, like someone picks on you, pushes you down, whatever, beats you up. You know, we think, it's kids being kids, boys being boys, whatever. But if you went back to your 5 or 10-year-old self, or whatever it was when this happened, and you asked 10-year-old Tony how it felt when that kid pushed him in the mud, I'm sure that didn't happen, but whatever it is, some sort of moment, he's going to be scared shitless, right? And his mechanism to make sure that he maybe never felt that fear again, maybe to get in real good shape and have big muscles so that no one pushed him down ever again, right? Now, that seems like a good thing until it gets to a point where you're like, you know, you're putting every waking effort into making sure that you never re-experience that pain through excessive exercise or excessive getting or working too hard or whatever it may be, right? And so what you're describing is like, when am I going to get out of the getting game? Well, when you're going to get out of it is not when you obtain anything out there. There's no amount of wealth that's ever going to get you out of the getting game. That's why you look at these guys that have everything and they're still trying to get more, right? It's because they're still trying to solve for what's going on inside, right? So that's the answer.
And how does that, do you think, translate over? So I'm just looking out into the gym space. How do you think that translates over into like wanting a 500-pound deadlift or wanting a bench press or a 100-meter dash? Or like how do you think that translates over into, or is that just a totally different?
No, I think it's all linked, right? So here's the thing: like, there's nothing wrong with like striving to be better. Like growth is a universal concept. Like there's ingrained universal concept. The universe is expanding. It's constantly growing. You know, if you look at like abundance is another universal concept. It's like a maple tree doesn't reproduce one seed, it reproduces hundreds of those little fucking helicopters you gotta pick up, right?
Oh, man.
And so it's natural. It's in us to want to get better. It's in us. It's just a part of who we are. The problem comes is that when you want something, right? It becomes a source of suffering, the wanting, right? It becomes like, I always give this example. It's like, we could leave this podcast and you could really want to get home. Like you got somewhere to be, you got to be home for dinner or whatever, your wife needs you. And what does that drive look like? It's fucking like, it's tense. You're trying to switch lanes. You get behind the guy that's driving 10 miles below the speed limit.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just frustrating, right? Or you could drive home and just recognize that you could let go of that wanting, right? And you can just drive home. They both have the exact same result. But one is stressed out, worried, overthinking, like just...
Man, it is so true.
Yeah.
Like, so every morning I get up obviously so freaking early. 3:30, 3:45.
Dude, oh.
I'm working in Kingsville this morning, which means I know if I leave, and this is so funny, because if I leave my house at 4, I have zero stress. I get behind a slow car, there's fog, there's rain. I enjoy my coffee, I listen to my podcast or a book or just some music, whatever it is. However, I leave at 4:15, 4:10, and I have like this much room to spare. That drive sucks.
Yeah.
No matter what, it sucks.
Yeah.
I feel tense. I feel like I'm thinking about it. I check the clock a million times. Like, I'm sure everybody does that.
Yep.
But it's
stressful.
So true. It's
right.
so
And
true.
so how that translates to the guy that wants a 500-pound deadlift.
Yeah, now add the...
Right. So now he's
more weight
fucking
to it.
training. He's like, he's always thinking about when he doesn't get it. He's pissed off. He yells at himself. Maybe he trains to the point of injury. Like whatever. So I can give you my own example. So I started playing a lot of golf again, and I really wanted to break 80. Like that was my thing. And what wanting to break 80 looked like was frustration, fucking practicing a lot, constantly in my head. Every time I got over any golf ball, I'm like, I got to do this, got to swing through. Like my mind won't shut the fuck up because it wants to break 80 so badly. But the second I recognize that, hey, if I just practice, if I just show up every day, play golf, do my practicing, eventually I'm probably going to break 80, right? The second I had that, I started having fun. I started relaxing more, and guess what? I broke 80 like 2 weeks later. And it was because I had the conscious awareness that I was in wanting. And all I had to do was step out of it and just start having fun again, right? So we can just step out of, like, another example was I was renovating my house every day. When I was renovating this house, I was like, I had an expectation of what I wanted to accomplish that day. And every time that expectation wouldn't happen, I'd be pissed off. Fucking nothing would work. We'd forget tools. We couldn't find a tool. We ran out of parts. But then when I just came to this awareness that, hey, if I just show up every day and do my best, the house is going to get complete.
Yeah.
Right? And I really truly believe that. Then the work days looked like we were laughing, we were having fun, everything just flowing. Like, oh, I made a wrong cut. Oh, you know what? That piece works out perfectly over here. Or whatever it is, it's like everything just flows. So it's just like it's like how's it translated in the gym or in anything that you want? It's like you still get what you want by letting go of wanting. And I think a lot of people believe they won't get what they want by letting go of wanting.
I think that's so true, and I think that's a huge nutrition one. You talk about like being jacked and all these things. As soon as people just start focusing on being healthy, coming in here to enjoy their time, be healthy, progressively get better, they become more jacked than they've ever been. And I mean, it's even happening with me. I'm so much more chill in the gym than I've ever been, but I feel like I'm the leanest and healthiest feeling that I've been in a very long mix of strength, how you look and all those things by doing so. I think that segues real good into our next little segment here, which is The Morning Wood, sponsored by Mike DeFazio, Reclaim Artistry. Go check him out on Drew Light Road for the best woodworking and most rad and bold concepts you could find. So The Morning Wood, Dave, is where we take a question from a listener or from one of our Instagram comments on some of the posts that Mike and I put out, fishing posts, kind of like more so fishing for like some ideas, some topics, things that people are interested in to help us with the show. So this one comes from one of my favorite people. She'll probably be here at 4 o'clock. Oh, maybe not. Summertime, she comes at 9. Tracy Heavens. Tracy's been a member for a long time. The progress that she has made has just been outstanding. So Tracy, shout out to you for that, and thank you for always supporting us. But Tracy's question is, and I think it's a great one from what we've been talking about, and start with either one of you guys, and we kind of got 3 questions, so I'll give like each one of us a little bit of a go here. So whoever wants to field this one, what is something you would tell your younger selves now that you have some life experience, or go back and change? Wants to take that one? You want to take that one, Mike?
I don't know if I want to take that one yet.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
I gotta. You don't take this one. You're gonna get the next one.
I think I gotta think on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
You're
good to go then?
Yeah.
Take
it,
Dave.
Yeah. Well, I've answered this question before because someone asked me, "What would you do differently if you were 21?" And I said I would focus all my time on spiritual growth and personal development. But essentially, though, what that means is young. Like really, if we're talking really younger self, it'd be like the number one thing I'd want to do is create awareness around why I am the way I am. Right. And so up until almost 30, most people are unconscious. They're just going through life, right, without even any real self-reflection of why they're doing the things they're doing. And like when I started doing this work, I recognized that Dave the entrepreneur was not who I really was. Like that was just a creation out of a protection to never feel shame, right? And so by understanding that we need to process the feelings that we experience as a kid, right? Because those are the things that are limiting us most. When we learn to undo those, when we learn to feel those feelings completely, we undo the program that was created to protect us, and those programs are our greatest limitations, right? So if I had to look back, I would be like, I want more awareness around who I am and why I've become this version of myself. And if I could have had that awareness when I was 20, I'd be a completely different person today.
What? How, a different person? How though?
Because I would recognize that everything that I was doing, for example, everything that I did up until about 32 years old was for one sole purpose, which was to impress women, right? And it's like, it sounds funny, but it's like, it was because as a kid, I experienced this moment, I think I talked about on this podcast, where these 3 girls pulled me aside in grade school and basically proceeded to tell me I was like the smelly kid in school. And it's like,
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, right. So my mom died when I was 9, and I was taking care of myself. I was doing my own laundry. I was basically like my own parent, but I just wasn't doing a very good job. And I'm grateful to those girls. I'm friends with them still to this day for that now. But that was a moment in my life I had forgotten about. I had suppressed it repressed it so far down because it was so painful. But that moment and other moments that are associated with it, because once we experience something, we keep re-experiencing until we pull ourselves out of the cycle. But moments of driving shitty cars, living in a not so great house, not that I was poor, we had everything that we needed, but my dad just didn't take care of shit, right? And so all of the shame that was around like what I thought people were thinking of me, right? And sometimes what they actually said, right? That was the creation of Dave the Entrepreneur. And so it led me down a completely different path in life. Now, I think it was all necessary because Dave the Entrepreneur was the result of creating Lingo Vita. Like if I didn't have the skills I have today, Lingo Vita wouldn't exist.
Yeah, that's
right?
where I struggle with questions like this and looking back is that, and I'm thinking like, look, you know what, man, if you would have changed, if you were different, maybe our memories and our friendships would be different. Like
Sure.
There's such a ripple effect to anything that you go back and change. Right. And I know that's not what she was asking in there, but that like as the discussion goes a little bit deeper dive. That's kind of like where my head goes is what would I change and taking away some of those experience or maybe having more awareness, maybe doing, drinking less, partying less, like maybe being a little bit different with relationships. There's a lot of things I'm not proud of that maybe I would think of changing, but then at this very same time, all of that brought me to right here and right now.
Right.
With all the situations next to 2 of my best friends with in my amazing new gym, like I really feel like, man, what would I change? I don't know. I think I'm pretty.
Everything's
happy with
happening.
what I've done.
Everything's happening in perfect synchronicity.
Right.
There are no coincidences. Like everything is happening exactly the way it's supposed to happen. And like if you want to get really deep into it, like these are arrangements we made before we even entered this world, right? But like it's like there is no A is causing B, and like we live in a world of linearity where people think that in order to get from one place to the next, like these series of events has to happen. But the reality is, talking about lenses, is that everything is happening at the same time. And so we think that we are the result of all of well, this is how I led to Tony Smith, the garage gym owner. But there's millions of factors that created Tony
it's
Smith.
Not one, right.
It's not just this linear path. And so we get so wrapped up in this linearity, which is like the Newtonian paradigm of like A causes B. But the reality is that nothing causes anything. And I know I'm getting super deep here, but what I'm trying to get at is that we are constantly being guided towards the best version of ourselves. And if I had to look back, right, I would create more awareness. But the reason I would do so is because we all have a calling. Now, that calling isn't from our ego. Dave the Entrepreneur was an ego calling. and the ego is designed to protect. It's the mind. It was my ego calling to protect me from shame. But we have another calling, which is like our higher self calling, our true self calling, right? And you're probably tapping into that now, Mike, with like, you know, the things you're working on. And so the sooner you start following that calling, and the sooner you get off the path of the ego calling, the sooner that life begins to like really transform. So what I'm saying is that I would have had more awareness as a kid. I might have got on, for me, it's God's path quicker and got off my path, right? Because I know on God's path, everything that I've ever wanted, everything that I've ever desired is going to come flowing into my life. And it's going to be like, it's not going to be effortless. Of course I'm going to be doing, but it's not going to feel like effort. That makes sense.
It's like flow. It's just like flowing.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's interesting, man. There's what is it? It's wisdom when you're young would be a lot less fun.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Yeah,
because, like,
100%.
you know, like I'm pretty sure. I actually know for a fact all three of us have lived some pretty wild lives and pretty like done
we could
some
do a
wild
whole
things.
podcast. One time we're gonna have our buddy Matt, the Notebook, come on here and just recount all the things that Dave and I don't remember. But yeah, no, I think you're totally right. And you know, funny, like totally off track, but on the same a little bit is my kids just watch Back to the Future.
Oh yeah.
And like you talk about the A where it like transforms the B and like how much remember they go back and you see how much things change because. He, you know,
one little thing.
It's
one little butterfly
thing,
effect, yeah.
Punching that one bully in the face rather than backing down, and how that changed, you know, Marty McFly's life. Right? Like, it was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
So funny. All right, so question from Mike.
Okay.
The Morning Wood for Mike. Okay, so we don't usually do two, but Tracy, these are good questions. Let's see. What is something you wish your mom would have done or said, but didn't, that could have impacted you?
Damn.
I'm glad I didn't get that one to you, Dave. That would make me feel very terrible if I would have said that.
I would have answered it.
But I guess, yeah, you would still have it. But yeah, what do you got, Mike? Mike, you're still close with your mom. You're very close.
Yeah, very close. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very close with my mom. And I think my mom did an amazing job like raising me. So like she's one of the
and they
hard.
both listen. Your mom listen to this podcast. It's always like that challenge.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm not criticizing what you say.
Yeah. No. My mom knows I think she's like the toughest woman I've ever met in my entire life. Hands down, 100%. The thing that I will say about this is not that what I wish she would have done different, because I feel like she did the perfectest job doing exactly what she had to do, raising four of us, like, you know. And one thing that I just think that is very interesting talking about lenses is being 33 now and understanding at this age, my mom had 3 kids. I don't have it figured out. My mom had 3 kids, you know, and I'm trying to think back, like, how did she have it figured out? And the reality is she didn't. Mm-hmm. Like, they didn't have it figured out. Our parents did not have it figured out. Like, I don't have it figured out now. I won't have it figured out in 50 years. But, like, as a little kid, your parents have everything figured out. They know all the answers. But, like, the reality is nobody knows what's going on. Like, I'm going to be a dad soon, and, like, that's going to happen to me. And this little man's going to look up to me thinking I got the answers. And I'm going to be like, I'm just winging it. You know, I'm learning as I go here. But it's just... I'm kind of dodging the question, not on purpose, but this is just what's coming to mind. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there's anything else that she could have done as my mom. Is there other things, dad in the picture and whatnot like that? Like, could my dad have done different things? Yeah. Did he do it exactly as it was supposed to be? In my opinion, yes. I wouldn't change a single thing. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's my answer to that. Just, you know. I don't think that any of us are ever going to have it completely figured out at any given time, and I think that's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, and when you really get into it, there's nothing really to figure out.
Yeah. Oh, damn, when you say it like that, it's like, we're going to strip it all the way back.
Yeah, you know, it's like, but it really is not like everything will be fine, everything's working out. Like, you know, it's like, all you have to do is have an intention to go wherever it is that you want to go, and you'll be pulled in that direction. It's like, you don't have to figure anything out. It's like, when you really get deep into like the work that I do, is you recognize that all thinking is essentially useless. Now, you can use the power of the mind to come up with business ideas and all this kind of stuff, but like the thinking that goes on behind the scenes, right, when you're not paying attention, it's literally neurotic. It's like, if you ever done a fast before, you know, it's like, if you just step back and observe your mind during a fast, you will think you're insane. the mind will be like, no, let's just break the fast. Come on, you can eat. You've done it. 3 days is long enough. You can go and have that cookie. Then the mind will say, no. Come on, we're gonna do this thing. Like, come on, let's get to 5 days.
Yeah, man.
10 seconds later, boom, and it keeps going like this.
Yeah.
It's neurotic, right?
I mean, anything. Even if I put you on a 2,000 meter ski right now,
Yep.
you would doing that. Laying out on
100%.
laying out on a SWAT call in the freezing cold.
Yep.
It is constantly the little angel and
Yeah.
the little devil on your shoulder type thing that's happening non-stop in your brain.
That's
and like being able to like on that, if you go out there, we have, and I love this for life really, and I've talked about this at one of your events that I spoke at, is like we have a little green dot we put on all those cardio machines, because at some point almost the whole race or effort that you're putting forth was not a race, it's a race with yourself really here, is that you're going to want to stop.
Yep.
Something, you're going to have a reason to stop. And you're better with this than me, but your brain can't do a negative and a positive at the same time. So the second that you can look at that green dot and say, I'm going to finish, or even like, I love my kids. Like, it doesn't even have to be about the event. The second that you can take from that negative train of thought to the positive train of thought, you're going to start to succeed, and maybe you'll still fail, but you're going to continue. And we tell that to our kids. We talked about this a few weeks ago in the episode. A kid strikes out. The first thing I'm trying to get that kid to do is encourage somebody else. Because as soon as he goes from that negative, all he's thinking about is that strikeout, the embarrassment, the shame, whatever you want to say, and goes towards the, hey Colt, you can do this, man. Go get him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pick me up.
Yeah.
They've lost it. They're already back on track to being back in positive mindset and putting themselves, they might fail again, but putting themselves in a position to succeed further in that game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
and for their buddies too.
Yeah, and that's great. And Mike, like, I'm so excited for you that you're having a kid. And
crazy,
like,
eh?
Yeah, man, it's
crazy.
awesome.
Thanks, man.
I saw the announcement there on Facebook, and I was like, I like having a kid is like really changed me a lot. Like,
me too.
And then everyone says this, but this is something like when you don't know, you don't know. Now the thing that's going to happen for you, Mike, for me, it was like the first 6 months, I was like, what the fuck did I do to my life? Like, I was like, there wasn't like this like instant love, like, that people talk about. I just love it so much. And it's like, I think a lot of that is just like what they think they're supposed to say. Like, my wife and I like are pretty straightforward, and we're like, wow, we fucked up. But then there was a switch, and I don't even know when it was around that 6 month mark where we were like literally questioning openly to each other, we fucked up, to she went to bed and we were looking at pictures of her on our phone, and we like looked at each other in the moment, we were aware, and we're like, what the fuck just happened, right? And when you experience the love that you have for a kid, you recognize that you haven't experienced fucking love ever. You're like, and not romantic love, whatever. It's like it's nothing like the same. And so, and this is what will help you, Mike, with this whole like striving and everything, I think, because once you recognize that is like, dad is the most important title that you'll ever have in your whole entire life, and once you recognize that, you start to see that's like all this shit that I'm trying to get and do and whatever, it's nothing compared to like dad.
Right.
It's literally nothing,
it comes
man.
second.
Yeah, it's like, and it's like, it's just so, and I had this like awareness the other day. It's like, I don't want to trust like any political leader or anybody that doesn't have children. It's like, because you just don't know. You don't even understand what the world is actually about if you don't have kids.
Right.
And it's like, because it's like you get connected to what we all really are, which is like love. I'm not talking romantic love. I'm talking about like unconditional love.
So from my mom, and advice that she did give, unintentional advice, it was somebody had posed her a question, whether we were at dinner and when her mother died, my Nona, and she said, what do you miss most? And it was something to the effect of, the question was something to that effect, but the answer was, nobody will ever look at you in your life like your mother does.
Yeah.
With the love that your mother looks at you, right? And that kind of changed a little bit of perspective from me. Like, I used to be like, mom, it's just my birthday. Like, who cares? I don't care. And you're like, that birthday's for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay, right? That's okay. That's actually maybe the right thing to, the right thing to do, the right way to look at it. It's like, and now I see it. Like, if my son didn't care that it was his birthday, that day is so special to me.
Yeah.
And if they didn't care that it was their birthday, I would be upset by that. And I didn't really have that perspective until my mother said that to me. So that's like opposite of the question Tracy asked, but that's the advice that really made something hit home for me.
Yeah.
Was, just a few days post funeral and hearing her say that, and I was like, of all the things you could miss, that's it.
Yeah.
And that's deep. Yeah, it's deep.
100%.
It's not tangible. It's just something that all of us can probably relate to right now. You're probably, picturing it from so many years ago.
Well,
right?
I mean, I was so obsessed building a big business. And I still want to do that. I still have goals where I'm gonna turn Lingua Vita into a multi-million-dollar business, and then I got all kinds of great things on the go. I'm launching this program, don't know when, but sometime, called Sober Achiever. It's about like helping guys that want to quit drinking but don't want to go to AA kind of thing. And so
Society of the Free Men.
and Society of Free Men I'm doing with Tony, and so it's like I got a bunch of stuff on the go, but I
Last
recognize
phase, too.
that none of that is even gonna be able to it's not even on this in the same ballpark as raising kids,
Right.
and it's going to change people's lives. And Tony and I have both experienced this at events and stuff. It's like people's lives are transformed. We even had blast. We've had some people making these ahas, and how powerful it is, but it literally is nothing compared to kids. And so I'm so happy for you, man, because
Yes.
talk about because kids are also a great teacher, because they will show you everything that is still going on inside of you. One of the things that I basically went through is my daughter, dropping my daughter off at school. She always cries and doesn't want to go to school. She has fun when she's there, but she just doesn't want to leave me. And that was making me sad, really sad, because obviously she's crying and she's just the cutest 4-year-old kid,
Yeah.
right? And I was trying to get out of it. I was going to pawn it off to Bree. I was going to get the nanny to do it. I was trying to find all these ways, and I'm wait a second, I'm avoiding pain, right? And so I was oh, I've been avoiding pain my whole entire life. Sadness, just the feeling of sadness. And then I started recognizing all the ways I was avoiding sadness, and I was it's with food, it's with, back in the day it was alcohol, caffeine, whatever it may be. It's I'm using all of these tools. The second I feel any little hint of sadness, and it might not even be that big of a deal, I'm doing something that is limiting me from being the best version of myself, right? And so kids are also, not only are they get you connected to this I'm so happy for everyone that has kids, because I know when that moment comes when you're fuck, I love this kid. It's so you could just look at them and you could just cry. That's how powerful it is, right? And so when that comes, you're gonna go, fuck, Dave was right. And it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
It literally happens to everybody.
No, that sounds exciting.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. And
that sounds great.
But the other thing is to be aware that it's coming. I don't think people are even aware that connection is actually going to be there. Yes, you hear, yes, you love your kids and everything, but to be aware that there's a moment coming where that you are just going to be so in love. It sounds wrong, but love this person, where they could do no wrong. Mm-hmm. Right now, parenting is tough.
It makes you understand why when I was a cop and I would go to someone's house with
Oh
basically
my God.
paint all over their hands and a spray can in their back pocket and say your kid vandalized that wall. Not my kid.
Of course.
Yeah. Not my Michael.
Yeah.
Right? Not my Michael with a punk rock band and a skateboard. He would do that.
Yeah.
That was
but I
you,
get
by
it.
the way.
You
I
did
get
that.
it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So let's flip the script a little bit.
Sure,
Have a
yeah.
little bit of fun. We cannot, the three guys that we have in this room, and you talk about politics, we cannot avoid what happened 2 days ago.
No.
True.
Trump.
Unbelievable.
So this is where my head's at. This is where I'm so this could literally be from anything. This could be a foreign country setting this up, trying to put it into civil, unrest, which has almost already happened prior to. It could be Trump setting up. It could be Biden setting up. It could just be a freewheeling cycle. It's so crazy that how much doubt has to come from any one event in these days.
100%. Yes.
There's just so much to that, that.
But in that,
just doesn't seem.
But in that, what you just said, there's also beauty, because people are
lens.
finally starting to open their eyes. They're not just looking at through the lens of CNN or the lens of
Yeah,
Fox
right.
News. They're asking real questions, and you're not just seeing something and immediately believing whatever you're told. You're wait a second. Well, did Trump set this up? And or did the Democrats try to? You're finally being inquisitive, and that inquisition is what's going to lead to the truth. I really believe in our society we're leading to it. We're heading towards a point where there will be no more lying.
I think there's I agree with you there, because this all broke for me during COVID. Everything fell apart for me.
Yeah.
Not for me, but my belief system on anything government, anything, honestly, health wise, food wise, everything's suspect these days. I gotta check everything, because everything's a lie. Like not everything's a lie, but there's a lot of hidden pieces that you have never paid attention to back then. Well, for me anyways, I didn't pay attention to them because I didn't feel like I needed to.
Yep.
And now I can't take my eyes off it because I'm like, okay, I got to avoid this because that's not real. I can't look at that because it's all like, it's mind games at the end of the day.
Yeah, I talked about my eye doctor, and my eye doctor is obviously an intelligent man. And he was, I'll get you guys the book that he recommended because I ordered it and I can't remember what it was, like some kinds of phases of the universe or something like that. But he basically talks about that for the whole history of, the cycle of history, every 80 to 100 years.
Yeah, Changing World Order by Ray Dalio.
Weak men rise up, right?
Yeah.
It's not the Dalio one, but he's also an author that you referred to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that weak men rise up, which forces strong men out of systems. You know, he I mean, I'm not saying that is me, but he's like, people like you quit the police service because they're so fed up with it.
Yeah.
But then it takes that cycle of them to come back, right? Because you'd be in punitive actions by weak men on strong men, and then all of a sudden the strong men come back and take over that world. And when I say strong men, women, whatever that is, strong people.
Right?
For sure. Like, and that's what we really need to happen.
But you see that happening
very soon
in Canada, and like I really would like to get each of your opinions on what you guys think actually happened with the Trump. Like who is this alone guy? Like, because I would just like to hear it, and I'll give my opinion too. But you see what's happening in Canada right now is like all of the strong people are being driven out of this country, right? It's like everyone that has money, they're leaving, right? And so it's like those are the people that are creating the jobs, and like this is a vicious cycle. Canada is headed in a very, very
hard spot,
bad direction in this moment, right? Because it's like if you start pulling out the leaders, like the people that create jobs, then you're going to be reliant on the government, and when you're relying on the government, you basically you've lost all your power, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in November, and also in our own election, because like if we don't make some sort of drastic turnaround for Canada, like we could be in trouble, like we already are. Yeah.
This is crazy, man.
This
is crazy.
Yeah.
We were talking, you and I, before you walked in here about and this is not federal, this is municipal.
Yeah.
We're trying to make this neighborhood nicer. But on top of the concrete, the permits you need to put the parking lot in, so it's not an empty, overgrown lot, you need to add this, and this completely unnecessary steps, which raise the cost for my landlord, which raises the cost for me. That's without considering that they doubled my insurance in the last year, the government's taken more of our money, the interest rates. I mean, it's happening at the municipal all the way up to the federal, all the way up to would it be called universal? Global, I guess?
It is.
This is absolutely wild. The fact that the groceries, I can't believe that I go to the grocery store and my mindset, you talk about scarcity mindset, but it's like, we are like, what is the cheapest thing we can buy and how can we make it still healthy enough and good tasting?
And we're just getting to a tipping point, because all the people that have mortgages that are about to renew, people are in more debt. If you look at the credit card stats, people are in more credit card debt than they've ever been in. Their mortgages are about to go up $1,500 a month, and it's like they're selling off all of their toys, and it's like, okay, things are about to shift. And now I'm the type of person who's like, yeah, the world is going to be the world, and I just focus on me. But you do have to have awareness of what is actually happening and be prepared for
where you're at.
Yeah, where it's actually going. Yeah. And so to circle back to Trump, because I believe, this is what I believe. I believe that Trump is the Great Awakener. And I think he did that when he was elected. He woke everybody up. He called it fake news, and Trump has his flaws for sure. The way he speaks and the way he puts people down and this type of stuff, I'm not a fan of. But I do believe that Trump is a person of integrity, right? And I do believe you don't even have to. Anyone with half a brain can understand this. This is a guy who's a billionaire. Who doesn't have to do anything. He
doesn't need to be there.
Doesn't need to be there. And maybe he's doing it for ego purposes or whatever. But it's like, regardless of the fact, is now he's getting shot at, and he's still saying, "I want to fight. I want to help this country." And so that to me means something. It's not about his own agenda. It's about actually helping people. Now, is there something, and maybe he wants to be the guy that says he helped people? Sure, but he still wants to help people, right?
Yeah, true.
And that's something that happens to me in coaching. Is and maybe even for you, Tony, too. Is we want people to get good results. And now part of that wanting people to get good results and letting go of that wanting is that
I want to be the fucking man. Like,
I want to be able to say, like, I helped that person. Right? You know,
I want to raise this up. Like, you know, with us with COVID and a lot of the businesses and the behind the scenes meetings we were having, like, there was greater good, but there was also the want inside of me to be the one who was leading that revolution.
Yeah,
of course.
Right, and that's true to that. And I you know, I don't know. I don't pay enough attention to politics in the States and all this. I do believe there's enough hate towards that man that could be true. I mean, what's AI and what's not anymore, and what I'm seeing and what's really happened. The woman sitting behind him with the camera.
Yeah, I saw this.
Without, like, if that's even real, but the woman sitting behind him with the camera that I saw, that's wild. Like, I've been around a lot of gunshots. I've been around a lot of loud bangs. At 22 wouldn't be that loud of a bang. In the video, it was not. But there was significant reaction from everybody, no reaction from one person. Right. If you were gonna go in to kill somebody, you're bringing a 22.
Yeah.
From a long distance, probably not my choice, but maybe you know, I know enough about guns, but I don't know enough about guns to say that maybe that wasn't the easiest thing to sneak in.
Right.
Maybe the 3D printer guns, maybe a 22 is neither one. Like, you know, there's so many ways you could go with that. It just, I wouldn't put it past anybody right now.
But I think if you look at
credit and integrity, I don't know, but I do think that he is the good versus the bad. Is better for us as the people. I think the good versus the bad, like the shitty things he says, the, you know, grabbing the woman by the crotch, talking, like all those things. Like, I mean, these are awful. This is not. He does not have the attitude becoming of a president. Like, you know, when Obama would walk up and speak, and I know nothing about Obama's politics, but you're like, man, that man is the president of the United States. Listen to him speak. Listen to how he conducts himself. That's where I struggle with that with Trump, but with a little bit I know.
The thing I like,
I know
about
that
Trump,
he doesn't
though,
shit his pants and walk in the wrong direction every time he's like put up on the stage, which is like a good thing, probably. Like, and my mind always goes to, how could these be the only two people that we have a choice of? In the country of how many bazillion people? That's what you put forth. Put the Rock up there.
I still think that I still think that what Trump is going to do and what he did is significant. I don't know if there's another guy that could do it, to tell you the truth. I
agree with you.
Yeah. And you know, if you looked at, like, as far as like conspiracy and stuff, you look at Trump's reaction to what happened, it's like that was not staged. You know, like I back in the day I used to have this show called Dave's House, and we tried doing some like scripted stuff, and it just, you could immediately tell it was scripted. It was, you know, and so it's like, that was not scripted. That was a man who just got shot at and stood up and said, we're still gonna fight. You know, and it's like the courage that takes, and like the work that I do is, there's a scale of consciousness, and courage is a critical level, right? The people that have the courage to face adversity, and that is entrepreneurs, right? Like, you know, I was just talking about here before, it's like, I'm gonna have to spend another $500,000 to shift my shoreline because I'm on crown land, and it's like, that is like, oh my God, most people would run from that challenge, and I'm like, I'll figure it out, right? That's courage, right?
Yeah.
And what he did there, stood up and had courage, is like, that is who needs to be leading a country.
Yeah, I look, man, I love America. I love the country. I love the people. Politics, it's bad in some spots, sure, but like, it's the people that I like, man. And you know, if I was over there, that would be who I would be. I would be choosing Trump. And honestly, I would. What is it? Is he the best choice for politics to lead a country? I don't know. It's not necessarily about that to me. It's like, at the end of the day, he's still a man. He's not a god. He's not no. You know what I mean? He's a man. Like, we all have flaws. And like you said, he
bleeds just like all of us.
Bleeds the same blood. But you know, like, it's
predator. Right?
It's one of those things that, like, he is the guy for the job. Like you said, the awakener. Like, he is breaking things. Whether you like him or not, he is breaking minds of people. And you know what? He's not even breaking the people on the far left or the far right. He's breaking everybody in the middle, which is the most important part.
Yes.
Because now I think when I watch the news, it's like, what's the rest of the story about? You can even see, look at the headlines about the shooting. Some of them are saying, oh, Trump tripped on stage and he was being helped up by this. It's like you can watch the videos, but there's news companies, whatever you want to call it, reporters saying that he tripped or he fainted. Yeah. News companies.
It's not reporting. I mean, regardless of what you think happened or what they think happened, to come up and say that there was there was a disturbance, what was the wording that they used, the tweet about what happened?
I saw
come on, man,
Trump falls on stages all the
Like, it was
that is crazy, and that's just exactly what was going on during this.
But I mean, that was so evident. It's like that was such a great example of what has been happening for the last 8 years.
Oh, wild.
It's like just pure lies, and I think that shooting was a reflection of evil, right? And now the thing that is the scariest is that the people that are doing the evil have justified it as the necessity for the good. And that is the most dangerous type of evil that there possibly is, you know? And so, and you're seeing it. Like, I mean, you see it throughout America, and I think people are starting to see it. It's like...
You see that throughout history.
Yeah,
right?
and
the religious stuff, right?
Sure,
where it's like necessary to kill for your... Like that.
They justified it. Like, they killed Jesus. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
and they justified it as, like, you know, whatever. He was, like... you know, terrible for mankind, and it was justified in killing him, right? And so it's like... The thing is about strong men, of strong people, not men, strong women, is that by being strong and true to yourself, there are going to be people that don't like you.
100%.
Right? It's like, look at Elon Musk. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that clip of Elon Musk up on stage where he's like, "You're going to try and bribe me with money? Go fuck yourself." Right? You know, he's like, and he calls out the CEO of Disney. You know, he's like, whatever that guy's name is, I can't remember his first name, but he's like, I think it's Jack or something. He's like, "Hey, Jack, go fuck yourself." Right? And it's like, but that is sometimes, now I don't think it has to be done with like mean-spirited, but it could just be done with kindness and compassion. But the thing is, even if you do it with kindness and compassion,
they're still going to hate you.
They're still going to hate
100%.
you because you are standing, you know, for good. And when you stand for good, the people that are against you are going to fight back. And so this shooter, the Democrats, the whatever it is, the news, they've justified in their minds that Trump cannot be the next president, and we have to do whatever it takes to make sure it is. And they will, and this is going back to the ego. The ego will always make you believe that you are right? So it's like, if you're on that fast and you're like, you know, you're a 5-day fast, you're 3 days in, and I'm like, I'm just going to eat that cookie. Like, I'm just going to eat that cookie. No, I'm going to finish the fast. Whatever you decide, the ego will justify as the correct decision and take ownership for it, right? And so it's like the people that are shooting at Trump have justified in their minds that this is the only answer to this problem, right? And that's happening throughout an entire half of a nation.
Yeah, which is crazy. I think that he just won the election from that.
I think so too. I think it would be crazy. The only way he's not going to win is if they kill him, which they may try to do.
Or they paint that picture that this was all set up.
I don't think that's going to work though.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I really don't think it can. Like, it's because we see it on camera, and you can tell that is not like. That's not staged. It's like they're not going to stage a guy like a sharpshooter to hit him in the ear.
Yeah,
they're not taking that risk.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is what we're going to do just to make sure you win the election. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
No.
Do you remember when you played bad guy for us?
Yeah.
And we kicked the door and shot you in the face.
Oh yeah, shot me in the
face.
face.
With a paintball. It's a paintball. So these guys got like that, basically with their own equipment. We need people who are going to be basically act naturally as possible when we come through a door, right? And I remember
come in and shoot me in the face.
I remember you're like, you did not stage that.
No, you can't. And I know I'm not even getting shot with a real bullet, and it's like it was still like right, you know. And so like
and even like flung to the ground.
Yeah. So for that reaction, I think he's over exaggerating. No. For that reaction in Trump, like that was a real reaction. That wasn't staged. He didn't know that was coming, man. He's like talking, hit the ground, like, you know, and then to stand up after almost being killed.
You could see that how confused he looked, which is consistent with some of the things I've seen in this
100%.
So, you know what? That's awesome. Let's end this with a little bit of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Trump almost got shot. That's
awesome. I mean, it's awesome discussion. It can go on for days, and we'll find out. And by the time we have the next episode, maybe we'll have an idea of what happened. But we got to pretty much wrap things up very soon.
Let's wrap it up.
But my kids have taken this awesomeness, and we're going to try to do this with more of our guests. They like this game. They call it overrated or underrated.
Okay.
Last time Danny contributed. This is volume number 2. This one is only by them, so I have no idea what's in this envelope. They hand it to me as I go out the door.
Oh, I love it.
I said no athletes because that's all they talk about is sports. I'm like, no sports stuff.
I got no idea about sports.
Yeah, me either.
Killing me with this group of guys I have here.
Yeah.
All right. Overrated, underrated.
Okay.
Mexico.
I've been there twice, and I love it. I don't know. I haven't really been to many places, so I've been to Mexico twice. So I think it's pretty cool. But I feel like I don't even know. I don't know.
I feel like we've talked about Mexico lots on this podcast. I mean, I am clearly on the underrated.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think underrated. I'm gonna say
Mexico.
underrated.
You?
I'm gonna go with overrated, but I'll say that about any destination.
Fair.
You know?
Why would you say that about any destination?
Well, because like it's like you get to a certain point, like
You're a guy who lived on Henry Ford. Where did you live?
I lived on Henry Ford.
Henry Ford.
Yeah,
I grew up on Henry Ford.
Yeah.
You know, Mexico is overrated.
Yeah, because like it's ultimately like I've like stepped out of like the need to experience anything. You know, like I don't need to go on vacation anymore. Like
I just gotta drive this car.
I don't even need to do that. But actually, that actually helped me though. That actually getting that car helped me.
Yeah.
Pulling out of any experiencing, it's the same shit. It's like you're looking for something out there, you know. It's like what do you do when you go?
So
to Mexico?
everything you're gonna say is underrated? Right
Well,
now?
no, not everything. Maybe
Okay. Well, listen.
I'll play along, but I'm saying with destinations, I would say.
How funny is this one?
Okay.
Underrated, overrated. This is from my children with no input from Danny. Donald Trump.
I'm gonna say he's underrated for sure.
Underrated.
Yeah,
So I pick up Braun and his two buddies to bring him
That's
to baseball.
hilarious.
Steve Mayhew's kid, actually.
Oh, no way.
And then Steve Patale's kid. And they're in my back seat. And I'm out of the car talking to Steve Mayhew while I'm picking him up. I get in. And they're arguing about Trump and if he can still run for the election. So I'm going to go underrated.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm getting sick of this guy being in the news and all this stuff being in the news. I wish we could just live a nice, normal life these days.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. All right. Last one. Overrated, underrated. Airplane rides.
Oh fucking overrated for sure.
Overrated based on our experiences.
Yeah, well, Tony and I almost died in a plane crash, so
Definitely, I'm going overrated. I honestly, I love going places. I'm not a person who doesn't want to go to destinations. I love going places. I hate the airplane. I hate being in the airplane. I'm nervous in the airplane.
Yeah.
I'm in the exact same boat. It takes forever. It's like 5 hours to travel, 2 hours in an airplane.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with you on that. Overrated.
I would drive to Florida any day before flying.
I will never drive to Florida again.
Too. We had everybody's heard on that podcast the story about the engine that blew up.
Yeah.
Me and Dave were on that plane. We had the flight from Arizona, and I don't know if you remember when the plane dropped.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And I'm sitting next to Higgs, who's like the co-owner there.
Yeah.
And Higgs is the calmest guy, and he goes, "Oh my God, we're gonna die! Oh my God, we're gonna die!" With such knowing Higgs, I was like, actually and he was always back then. He was flying all the time.
Yes.
I was like, we're going down. We're going down. Like one of those things.
When you look at the flight attendants and they're panicking, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's what happened on that flight with the engine blowing up. Like, the flight attendants were
panicking.
They're freaking, and I'm like,
still to this
is
day,
not good.
That's what I do. It's like when the turbulence starts, I always look where the flight attendants. They still sitting up when the pilot makes them sit in their seat.
The greatest part about that story is that like I could tell someone was off, but I didn't really know exactly what had happened. Like they're not announcing it. But Tony was sitting right next to the fire. Like he was looking out the window and there's flames right
in the window.
And so
the plane
shuts the window.
But I still have no clue. Like it's not spreading through the word that there's a fire. None of that shit.
Because I was like the vault back then.
Yeah, he was.
I was employed by Delta.
But like we're landing and like the fire trucks are coming down the runway as we're landing. We land. I get off the plane because I was further forward than Tony. Tony gets off the plane. He's fucking like white as a ghost. And I was like, "What the fuck happened, man?" He's like, "The fucking plane blew up."
That's crazy, man.
He was like in sure like we were gonna die.
But the way I remember this too is you guys all standing there because you guys were all towards the front, which is why I saw it and you didn't, right? And you guys are standing there. It's like a movie. Like imagine this wall is like you guys facing me, but behind you is the window of like the airport that you can see onto the plane.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, the plane's on fire. And like I remember people are like, no. Yeah. And I'm like, look.
Yeah.
And everybody turns, and the whole side of the plane is black.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It was intense.
It was wild. Overrated airplanes.
As hell, yes.
Overrated airplanes.
But we still like when you get us places safely.
Yeah. Please get us to the next destination safely.
That's it.
Safely and on time if you could.
Yeah.
And don't lose my bags.
Yeah.
And like I don't need to hear the safety thing. I've heard it 5 million times.
Yeah. I don't.
No one's listening anyways.
You know the people when they wake you up to hear it.
Oh my god.
You're like, really?
Yeah. Like,
come on.
The safety thing should be optional.
Yeah.
At this point, if you fly, have you flown more than 10 times? You don't need to listen anymore.
Yes, yeah, you're off the hook.
Yeah.
You're off the hook for this one.
Yes.
My last plane I was on, speaking of Mexico, it was like, I swear it was like the oldest plane. Like, that made me nervous too. Being on like a really old ass plane.
Yeah.
But then in your head, you're like, well, this thing's been coming and going for a long time. I'm always like big too on like I like to be on the plane that flew here. So say you're flying to New York.
Yeah.
And then you see the plane come in and all these people from New York get off the plane. That makes me feel very good. Now I'm getting up in a plane that's already driven today.
Yeah.
Should be good.
Yeah.
True.
Should
True.
be good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where my head goes.
Yeah. I know. I think that's a good theory.
But anyways, we covered a million topics. Some of them shortly, some of them from longly, and some of them with who knows where they'll go. I'm curious to know where the next couple of like months is gonna go with this Trump stuff.
Yeah.
And but as always, man, appreciate having you on the show.
Man.
You bring so much insight and such a different lens to
Yes.
everything we do, and I know a lot. I could see your the bells going off as Dave's saying some of those things that
Yes.
we'll talk about a little
100%.
bit, and we'll come back to on this podcast for sure as things in Mike's path start to iron out. But man, I appreciate both you guys in my life, and looking forward to helping more people with you. So
Yeah, man.
catch us on Dave's episode on his own podcast
Yeah.
and on ours. First time we've ever done anything like that, co-host to co-host, and let's roll.
Let's go.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
We're gonna work out now.
Not me.
Over and out.